Again, thank you for coming to today's
Got
critical
it.
conversation. At least
Hmm.
you are inside in the cool. Today we're going to be talking more about the FlexWork program, but President Sisson has a few slides and updates to go over first. I just want to remind everyone that while the presentation is happening, chat will be turned off. I will turn it back on once it's open for questions. We encourage you to raise your Zoom emoji hand so that we can call on you, or you can place your question directly into the public chat. We are encouraging you to use public chat because your question is probably somebody else's and it will benefit the entire audience today on Zoom to know what people are asking. I am going to turn it over to Phil, but I want to remind you that this session is being recorded and it will be available next week on the internet page. Phil.
Thanks, Beth. Folks, just a quick reminder, if you're not on mute, then there's a pretty good chance whatever you're saying in the background we will hear, which you may not want to have happen. So you just might want to put you on mute for a little bit. So great to see you all this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We are also really thrilled to welcome to their first official critical conversation both our new provost, Dr. Sue Mangione, and also our new VP of Enrollment Management and Student Success, Dr. Nicole Harris. So welcome to them as they begin their second week with us here at Middlesex Community College. A couple of slides I just want to remind you of as we begin this presentation today is the fact that we have available open door days throughout the summer. This is the schedule with some very weird little thing in the middle. There we go, Beth. I don't know what that was. As you well know, this is an opportunity to come through, have a conversation with me about anything you'd like to talk about, ideas, concerns. If you'll flip back, Beth, that would be helpful. And then we've really focused on particular either Bedford or Lowell locations, but we also can do that with Zoom. So all you need to do is be in touch with Angela about these days as well if you need to make an appointment, or if you just prefer to drop by, then it may mean that you just have to wait a few minutes, but we're happy to try and accommodate folks who want to stop in and chat. Happy to do that. Look forward to having some one-on-one conversations. Also want to remind you that we have an employee appreciation cookout that's coming up very soon, and so is the RSVP deadline, which is on Tuesday, July 28th at 3 p.m. It's our usual employee appreciation cookout. We are fast on these slides today. It's between 12 and 2 on the Bedford Campus Quad, and we're looking forward to officially welcoming Dr. Mangione and Dr. Harris for their first official college event of the summer. We've been doing this appreciation cookout for a few years now. Good time. Just make sure you let us know so we have enough food for everyone for the fun and games. DJ Sky will be with us again. So anyone who wants to do the electric slide on the sidewalk is more than welcome to come on down. We also want to mention that we have a number of critical conversation dates that are coming up. This is the upcoming schedule, so you can put it on your calendars, and we'll try and get those topics and information out to you for each of those critical conversations in advance, usually a couple of weeks. I'm going to turn it over now to the person that's been responsible for making sure that a lot of our projects are working and running on time, and have an opportunity to hear from Vice President Cook about where we are with some of the work, and for you to see some pictures for those of you who are living in Bedford permanently or are squatting in Bedford during this time, or you've been moved to the federal building or some other building in Lowell. I want to first say how much we appreciate your flexibility during this time. It's an important time for the college. We now know why nobody replaces their HVAC systems in very large and very vibrant buildings filled with employees. It's because it's a tough situation and it's hard to do. But as a resilient institution, we've done a great job of adjusting. And I would say no more so than the folks that are doing our one-stop over in the federal building. So thanks to all of those folks that are in the support service and enrollment area that are making this happen. And I want to say thank you to all of you for being flexible about being in your new space as we work through the next few weeks to get over the finish line for a couple of important projects. So Beth, if you would take us back to those pictures, if you could, and then I'll let Vice President Cook walk through where we are with some of the progress.
All righty. Good afternoon, all. And just to echo what Phil had said, can't thank folks enough for the work you did on the front end of this to help this turn into as smooth a process as can be possible. Just many folks have heard this before, but the Cowan Center was built as a Wang training facility back in 1985. So a lot of the things that are being replaced on it right now are 41 years old. So it's the first time I've undertaken the relocation of an entire building. I know that some other folks from have worked at different places have had to evacuate spaces before, but it was challenging when we take our biggest building, all 6 stories of it, and try to find homes for everybody. So I want to continuously thank everybody who spent weeks working with us to help relocate not just personnel, but most importantly, the services. Because what we're doing is 2 monster projects at the same time. And as we've talked about some of the past critical conversations, we're doing them now in the dead of summer, because I can't even imagine the excitement this would have provided doing this in the throes of the holiday break of between Christmas and MLK Day. So what you're looking at here is yesterday was the most important part of the project that we've had so far, that's been really underway for months. Yesterday and today were the 2 key days, yesterday being the most important one. So the pictures you're looking at there is we are installing an entirely new entryway to the front of the building, again, original to Wang facility. And we're also installing an entirely new HVAC system onto the roof of the building. So for any of you who work in Lowell, or any of you who have friends, or anybody who's driven by the campus and gotten the amount of text messages that I've been receiving wanting to know what's happening at the campus, we have a 200-foot crane that was in our front lot yesterday and today, which I'm being told is being disassembled as we're sitting here talking. And then it's so big that there was a smaller crane that's used to assemble the larger crane. If you can go to the next slide, Beth. So, where'd we go? That's our new HVAC unit. It's one of several pieces that were being lifted up onto the floor of onto the roof of the Cowan Center. Many people have been likened it to the raptor cage at the beginning of Jurassic Park, which was being lifted. I know it's too soon for the Sam Neill fans among us, but yes, these are giant raptor cages that we had to lift up onto the roof of Cowan, which are now being assembled like Lego pieces up on the roof itself. Beth, if you can go to the next slide. To say that the front parking lot was in chaos yesterday would be an understatement. We had at least 6 to 8 flatbeds that were delivering pieces of the cranes to assemble it, and then the cranes themselves were shutting down the street for any number of hours throughout the course of the day. Police details have been there helping us try to, as best we can, to get folks across the street safely, but the front lot is completely inaccessible right now. Next slide, Beth. And where do we go? This is the parts of the shell of the new entryway that's being the slide on the left. Even though that picture was taken,
My volume is off.
Katerina, never mind. The pieces of metal that you see there have already been removed, even since that picture was taken. That's a temporary bubble that's been put up around the front, so that if you take a look inside, there's a temporary wall that's been created in front of where Dylan sits at the front desk. That is going to be open for the next week or 2 while they're reconstructing the entire new entryway. Next slide, Beth. And kudos and cheers to everybody who has found temporary digs in some of our other locations, most importantly, to keep those student services operating. So I know we've got a number of people that relocated down here to Bedford. We put people over in the Nesmith house. I see them on this call. We've got folks that are squatting in some of the spaces over in Talbot, but Federal Building became really a ground zero for where we relocated the services. And kudos to Kayla and Shauna and everybody on that team who spent a couple of weeks with us working to make sure with our facilities crews to get these places set up. You're looking at the assembly room on the left and the main lobby of the Federal Building there on the right. I can tell you, because I've been up there almost every day, the foot traffic is consistent. We've got signage up everywhere redirecting potential students to send them over to the Federal Building, and I'm hoping what they're finding there on arrival feels pretty seamless, because I've seen them consistently helping students who are coming in to register for the fall. So again, the fact that you guys spent the amount of time you did on the front end to help get this in shape with IT and folks is a testament to resilience we're talking about here, but the fact that we're able to still offer these services. Now, to answer the question that was coming in via text earlier today from some of the folks on this call, we are still going to be in this setting through the entire month of July, going into August. We built a buffer of a few weeks, but we won't be restoring services back until sometime in August, and we'll try to keep sending the college-wide emails to share that information. I will tell you that as somebody who has been going back and forth within Cowan, the lack of air conditioning and air circulation up there is extremely noticeable. It's hazardous to the health of anybody that would try to stick it out for a whole work shift up there because it's invariably warm. So it was the right call for us to do what we did. I know it's an incredible inconvenience, but we appreciate everybody rebounding as well and as quickly as you did. What you're looking at here is what Beth is up on our website. We have some announcements that are we've been sharing through the app. We've got a banner, a ribbon that goes across the top of the website to tell prospective students or anybody that we have moved services over to Federal Building. If you take a look at the thing on the right, when you click on that ribbon across the top, the banner, that'll redirect you to that information for visitors to Lowell campus to tell us where certain functions are located, both whether they were moved here to Bedford or if we got them set up parallel in Lowell. So we're trying to make sure that anybody who's looking to do fall enrollments during our peak weeks coming up still has a pathway to get there. So that's a quick bird's eye view. We'll be sending out as many updates as we can in the coming weeks just to keep everybody informed. But again, thank you all for bouncing back like you've done from this, like you've done for so many things since COVID and beyond. But it's been very much appreciated because it's made it easier for us to get some of these tasks over the goal line. So fingers crossed we're on pace, and we'll send some more updates in the week or two to come.
Thanks, Pat. Really appreciate you doing that. And I want to thank you for sharing some of the pictures. It's been pretty exciting to see what's happened. It's sort of if you spend any time in Cowan, you'll see that the ground floor they are well in the throes of replacing all of the ventilation ducts, et cetera. There's a lot of work that's going on. It is a very active work site. So we've been smart to move everyone and just remind people that if you really need something from the building, that we can accommodate making that happen. We just need you to be very cautious and for us to be aware of how long you will be in the building as an active work site. We want to make sure everyone stays safe and sound. So appreciate that and appreciate everyone's patience as we move through this to a better Cowan building. So I also want to especially thank HR and our partners in leadership from MCCC and from AFSCME. Both Shannon and Kristen have been remarkable partners in this new flexible work program. We thought it might be important to spend some time today for you to have the materials of the agreement and all of the frequently asked questions. Mary's going to walk you through the general sense of how this works, and then we'll try and answer some questions that you may have. Some of those questions may be maybe better answered individually, but certainly we'll try and answer those questions that may impact others as they begin to have conversations about the possibility of creating a flexible work schedule within your areas. And I'll turn it over now to Mary to go through the slides. And then again, we're going to be spending most of our time today in question and answer. So thank you again for being with us. And I turn it over to Mary.
Thanks, Phil, and good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm excited to share the final details of MCC's new voluntary flex work program, which will begin on August 24th. This program reflects our continued commitment to being a caring, responsive, and forward-thinking workplace. We have heard from employees about the importance of flexibility, while also recognizing that the needs of our students and the college continue to evolve. Our goal was to support our employees while strengthening how we serve our students with flexibility, connection, and service at the center. Today, we'll be reviewing the upcoming key dates, walk through the FlexWork program guidelines, highlight the major areas addressed in the FAQs, and then leave time for open questions. Our goal today is to make the information as clear and easy to navigate as possible as we prepare for launch. Beth, next slide, please. So our launch is almost here. I want to begin with the key dates because it is quickly approaching uh, with the first and most immediate date of August 10th. Employees who are interested in participating in the FlexWork program must submit their election form by that date. Our current 1 day per week telework program will conclude on August 21st for all full-time and part-time employees. Then on August 24th, approved flexible schedules will begin. Also beginning on August 24th, eligible employees will have 4 remote work days available to use through December 31st, 2026. Beginning January 1st, eligible employees will receive 15 remote work days to use during the 2027 calendar year. If you are considering a flex schedule, I strongly encourage you to begin talking with your supervisor now. We want to allow enough time for thoughtful conversations and review before the August 10th deadline. Next slide, please. As employees and supervisors begin discussing schedules, I want to emphasize the philosophy behind the program. The best flex schedule needs to support 3 things. First, for you, it should provide meaningful flexibility. We recognize that flexibility can help employees structure their work week in a way that better meets individual needs. Second, the schedule needs to work for your team. Departments must maintain appropriate coverage, collaboration, and continuity of operations. And third, we need to continue providing access and responsive service for our students. Our students remain at the center of the work that we do. There is no single flex schedule that will work for every employee or every department. The best schedule is one that thoughtfully balances all 3 areas. We want employees and supervisors to approach these conversations as partners and identify arrangements that are both meaningful and sustainable. Next slide, Beth. The first step is to review the FlexWork program guidelines and the FlexWork FAQs. These documents provide the program parameters and answer many of the questions that employees have raised. Next, connect with your direct supervisor and discuss the schedule you are proposing. This should be a meaningful conversation about your proposed schedule, department coverage, student service, and the operational needs of your work area. The goal is for the employee and the supervisor to identify and agree upon a schedule that supports both employee and operational needs. Only after that conversation and agreement should the employee submit the election form. Election forms are due August 10th. Next slide. Once your flex schedule is approved, it becomes your regular work schedule. Approved schedules are intended to be ongoing, so you will not need to reapply annually. We also understand that circumstances can change. If you want to request a change to an established flex schedule, you should generally provide at least 2 weeks' notice to your supervisor and the HR payroll team. Visibility is also important. Employees should post their regular work hours outside their office or workspace and update applicable electronic calendars and scheduling tools. We want students, colleagues, and visitors to be able to easily understand when employees are available. And of course, employees must accurately record their scheduled hours in HRCMS. The key point is that a flex schedule is not an informal schedule that changes from week to week. Once approved, it is your regular work schedule. Next slide. What the FAQs clarified. So we developed the frequently asked questions document, and I really also want to extend my appreciation to both Shannon and Kristen, because we know that once employees begin thinking about individual schedules, many practical questions naturally come up and have come up. The FAQs are organized around 8 major areas: general program information, scheduling, requesting and changing a flex schedule, holidays, vacation, sick, and personal leave, overtime and off-hour events, weather emergencies, and the remote work provision. The document includes specific examples and scenarios. For example, it explains how holiday time works if a holiday falls on an extended workday, a shortened day, or a scheduled day off. It also clarifies when employees use vacation, sick, or personal leave, they use the number of hours they were scheduled to work that day. The FAQs address overtime, required college days of service, evening or Friday events, weather closures, and many of the questions we have already heard from employees. I strongly encourage everyone to keep the FAQs as a resource. We tried to anticipate the real life situation employees and supervisors are likely to encounter. And of course, if you review the FAQs, still have a question, we're all here to help assist answer those. Next slide, please. This is one of the most common areas of confusion, has been the distinction between flex work and remote work. So these are two separate provisions of the flex work program. Flex work relates to how an employee structures their regular weekly work hours. Remote work allows eligible employees to perform their work remotely on a limited number of approved days. An employee may be approved for a flexible work schedule, but may not be eligible for remote work based on the nature of their position. Likewise, an employee may be eligible for remote work without choosing a flex schedule. Beginning August 24th, eligible employees will have 4 remote work days available to use through December 31st. Beginning January 1st, eligible employees will receive 15 remote work days per calendar year. The remote work days must be taken in full day increments and require supervisor approval. Employees are responsible for tracking their remote days in consultation with their supervisor and recording remote work as TEL in HRCMS. The key takeaway is really flex work and remote work are separate. Eligibility and approval for one does not automatically determine eligibility for the other. Next slide, please. As we prepare to launch FlexWork, hopefully we see this as more than a change in scheduling. This is another step forward in how Middlesex continues to evolve as a workplace and as a college. We can create a more flexible workplace. We can remain connected to our community, and we can continue to provide the exceptional service and access for our students. These goals can and should exist together. There may be questions and learning along the way as we launch our FlexWork program. That's really part of implementation of any new program, and we're here to support employees and supervisors throughout the process. Our next chapter begins August 24th. I want to thank you all for your partnership and your continued commitment to Middlesex. We're excited to make FlexWork work for MCC together. Next slide. At this point, we'll open the conversation up for questions. I also strongly encourage everyone to review the FlexWork program guidelines and FAQs. Many of the detailed scenarios and questions we've received are addressed in those documents. What questions can we answer for you now?
Mary, we had one question that's come in on the chat. The chat is now open for all. I'm not sure if you're seeing it.
If I try to out a flex schedule but realize it isn't working for me and my supervisor approves me going back to my normal hours, what's the HR process for that? Can HR deny the change, or is it completely up to the supervisor? It's really a conversation and discussion with your supervisor. If the operationally, if the hours that you're proposing or need to change support the operational area in the work done within your division, From an HR standpoint, we're just updating the HRCMS schedule that has been approved. So it's more just the tactical aspect of updating your work hours in HRCMS so you can accurately record your hours worked on a daily basis in the HRCMS system.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the most important thing is conversation with your manager, managers checking with people about how their flex schedule is going. We want to encourage people to try this. And if they are operating under some challenges, that they communicate back with their manager about that. I think, again, I would just reiterate, this is a really important process that really requires a lot of good communication between individuals and their managers.
Thank you. Again, chat is open, and we also encourage you to raise your emoji hand and we'll call on you to unmute yourself. Mary, it looks like there's a follow-up question. If I decide to keep my regular schedule for now, can I still opt into the Flex program later on? Is there a deadline to sign up or is it a rolling program?
So it is a rolling program. We've had that question even related to new hires that may be hired into work areas. So it's eligible. It's the enrollment would just require that form so that you can record your hours and kind of agree to that schedule with your work area. So you can sign up for it later on. The real launch of the program aligns with the change in the existing telework program parameters. So that's the real shift. So moving forward, the flexible work schedules are optional in a voluntary program that you may decide to join at a later time.
Mary, if an employee who opted in requests to go back to a standard schedule, could they be denied and have to stick to the flex schedule?
It's really going to be the basis of a work area, but there really has to be support in the operations. I'm trying to think of a specific example. Depending on the service area. So I think it's similar to a mutual kind of mutual figuring out with the supervisor and the employee to work through. Shannon, I see your hand raised. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I was wondering the contract, the MCCC contract sort of says between 8 and 5 are typical hours. So I'm thinking that potentially if someone wanted to go back to their contractual hours, that wouldn't be a problem.
And there's a notification period too. So if there is some emergent type change or shift in the future, there would have to be kind of that contractual required notification period too. So I don't know if that influences kind of the question or if that's what we're getting at as well.
Yeah, I think the other piece of this is just a practical piece of information that, again, I go back to communication with your managers. Your managers have responsibility to make sure that we can do what we can to move to extended hours in some areas, especially direct service areas. And so, the ability to make a communication with your manager and then come up with an agreement between the two of you about when that change would occur is a conversation. And it depends on how immediate that change needs to be or what the needs of the area are as well. So I think, again, it's about being able to communicate effectively with your manager about what your needs are based on that flex schedule. Flex schedules were not designed to be changed weekly or monthly. It is the kind of thing that once you develop your schedule, that's your schedule. If after a certain period of time you find that it does not work for you, then I think that's another communication with your manager. But as you can imagine, it's rather difficult for us to run the college with consistent changes in flex scheduling. So it's not our anticipated concept that people will be changing flex schedules periodically is okay, but that they wouldn't be changing them all that frequently. But in the idea that you have tried something and it's not working for you, whether it not work for you at work or it's not working for you personally, then I think that's a conversation with your manager about what the next steps would be around your particular schedule at that time.
Kristen, you have your hand up.
I just want to reiterate what Shannon said. That would just be my only concern. If somebody's been working there for 20 years, 8 to 4, they gave this a try, it didn't work. And then their manager said, no, you can't go back to your regular hours. That would be one of my concerns.
Yeah, I don't think anyone said that the manager is going to say that that would happen, and I don't think that's the spirit behind what we're intending to do here.
Okay.
A follow-up question that Shannon answered already, but 15 remote days, do they have to be used as full days? Correct. Remote days are not by hours, it's by work day, regardless of how many hours we work that day. Next, will we be able to see the balance of telework days in the HRCMS system?
So that's the HRCMS system just records your work schedule and hours worked per day. It doesn't maintain the balance of drawdown from that 15 remote days. So that will have to be maintained both by the employee and the supervisor in the work area. So the system has limitations and doesn't record that.
Shannon.
Yes, thank you. I believe we can, though, ask someone in HR or payroll if we lose count how many we've used. I think someone can potentially look that up for us.
Yes, we can. We can
Great,
pull
thanks.
reporting from the system and be able to see when you've used vacation days, for example, sick time, or the telework remote days.
But I wouldn't be able to do that. And even though they put the code TEL next to the day, I have no way of looking that up without contacting you.
You can see what your employee lists in their calendar for as you approve the time recording as a supervisor. So you can see it, it'd be more of a manual individual looking at your employee work hours.
Thank you.
We have another question related to holidays, Mary. If a holiday falls on my short day, I'd have 3.5 hours of holiday time left over. When exactly do we have to use that extra time? Does it have to be the day right before or after the holiday, or can we use those hours whenever?
Yeah, the guidelines reference that it really should be used the day before or day after. So really ideally using it, if I just see Shannon responded, within that same week. It really depends on when the holiday lands. If it is a Friday, you may have to use the time the preceding Monday. But really within that same week, it can't be banked and saved up and used for a future occasion. It's really keeping it in the meaning of the holiday time close to the day of.
Next question, a possible scenario for you, Mary. If I am the only person in my office participating in the work flex option and I submit a vacation request 1 month in advance, but am unable to find coverage for my extended hours, how would that situation be handled? Would my vacation request potentially be denied due to the lack of coverage, or would the office have the ability to adjust operations or limit its availability during that time?
So just broadly answering, this is going to be no different than we have current employees needing to take vacation time. And right now we're in the midst of the summer season and we have a lot of vacation plans and usage. So work areas kind of try to support and figure out coverage. I don't think the go-to is based on denial. It would have to be kind of exceptional circumstances. I think we do a good job of supporting each other. I'm not certain which departments adjust operations. I feel like we have kind of a core standard because our students expect availability for services. So I think the flex schedule isn't changing kind of the hours we work in the week and how we plan for our vacations. So I think all the same principles apply as to how we currently request and approve vacation time within our work areas.
Thank you, Mary. Abby. Oh, Abby put her hand down. Any other questions?
If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to encourage people to make sure that they look at all the materials that we've sent out around the guidelines and that you familiarize yourself with that. And then you can reach out to HR to ask any particular questions that may come up that arise that are part of your own individual situation so that we can answer that. Abby's hand is back up.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I realized I had myself on mute the whole time I was talking. So my question is this, and I hate to sound monotonous, and I know some of the questions are very similar, but I just want to understand this. The idea behind this is to be able to extend the hours in departments, especially student-focused and student-centered. If we take an option to do the flex schedule, and let's say there's a night that we want to be open later, something like that. In my situation, I guess my question is this: I would like to be able to do that and offer to take on that later hour to be able to stay. But then I have, sports with my daughter, for example, but I don't want to decline doing this to be able to stay and work these extra hours if I can most of the time. But there may be a week where, that interferes with this. So I guess my question is, it's not meant to be flexed, like Phil said, every week or every month, but how flexible can it be when it comes to something like that where it's a situational thing? And is that something that you would suggest, no, don't sign up to do it in that case, or let's do it because we have that option and then let your manager decide, if that becomes too much?
Yeah, Abby, I think I want to understand you properly in the sense that if you're talking about taking time to actually attend a sports event, you can't be teleworking because you can't be working and going into the sports event simultaneously. So that sounds like more of personal time or vacation time, unless somebody has another answer. If you're talking about that you're going to have someone coming home at a different time than normally, that's exactly what some of the remote work was designed for. So
sorry,
I think
I didn't
think
mean
the
remote
question-
work, Phil. I meant the extended hours to be able
Got it.
to stay is what I was
So
referring to.
if 80% of the time Abby can handle and can be there after the normal hours, so later into the evening, but 1 week, this 1 month, she would need to miss it because of a family arrangement. How would that be handled? Should she just not sign up for later later flex work? Because there could be 1 or 2 instances when she can't make it. I think that's what you were asking, correct, Abby?
That's a much better way of putting it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, I think, again, I go back to the fact that the concept behind the flexibility is to be working with managers within the realm of what's flexible and how we sort of cover extended hours. I think even one of the comments earlier about somebody else finding someone to cover their extended hours, that's not necessarily an individual's responsibility. It's one that can be communicated within an area, and there's lots of ways you can communicate that. And if you are resourceful enough to be getting someone else to cover hours, that's a great part of an initial conversation with a manager. But it's always about the conversation with the manager. So Abby, I would say that if you have a unique situation when there's a particular, you want to do this, but I've got this 1 month of X that I have to cover at home, or something else I need to do, and that's a good conversation with your manager to see if they are able to find someone else who is able to cover, so that we can have consistency of hours in the area. So again, we want to be in full communication about what may be the challenge, and see what managers can work out. And it requires an in-depth conversation with the manager to identify what the best way is to do that.
In a similar question, Phil and Mary, if no one on my team is doing flex work, how will hours be covered early and late?
That's a conversation for the college going forward. That's not a conversation that will probably be addressed here. I mean, what we'll get a sense of is as these conversations emerge and as we begin to see flex schedules, it will give a better sense of how we can be able to extend our hours. I mean, the idea is twofold. It's not only to extend hours, but it is certainly to provide increased flexibility to individuals as well. So it's a balancing act. But we want to make sure that this flex work schedule is voluntary, and that's exactly where we will start with all of this in order to be able to do that. And then we're going to have some extended conversations about coverage of areas. So first and foremost, we're looking forward to people identifying what they potentially want their work schedule to be in terms of flex work schedule, and applying for that and see what those conversations are and how that really plays out with managers in different areas. It really depends on the area. So I think there's some unknowns in this to some degree, as there is with anything that you start that's new, that we'll work our way through. But that is not the individual employee's responsibility to determine how hours in a particular area would be covered.
Thank you, Phil. Shannon.
Thanks. Yeah. For the situation that Abby was talking about, I would say that's sort of very similar to how it currently would be if you needed to leave an hour early every month or so. We all have to leave early sometimes. You could just take a vacation hour, a personal hour. You could potentially work with your manager to say, like, can I stay late another day? Like it's similar to how we would handle it now. It's just our hours would be shifted, and so leaving early would just look a little different, but I think it would still be possible, and you could still absolutely do the flex program if it's every once in a while you need to leave early.
Thank you, Shannon. Related to Phil, your recent response about extended hours, is there a date you have in mind for when the college is hoping to launch extended hours?
Yeah, I guess I would like to tell you that I had a particular date in mind. That is not essentially what will happen. The college will be moving towards extended hours, and we'll have more information about how that will work. It may work in some areas different than others, so there's a lot of unknowns at this point. Eventually, the college will need to extend its hours across the board in a lot of areas, so it will be a work in progress. It will not be a particular date where there's a line drawn in the sand about how we will do that. So hopefully sometime this fall is when we might be able to do that.
Shannon.
Hello again. Yeah, like I've been saying to my members that it's baby steps. So this is one step towards extended hours. We're going to see what people want to do, what people are able to do. We'll see where everything lands and how things settle. Eventually, we'll move towards more extended hours, hopefully. But right now, no one is being mandated to do anything. And so we're just sort of seeing what people want to do. We're going to see where things settle. And we'll go from there as a college. And I imagine Chris and I will be having many more conversations.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartely with what Shannon has said. The only thing that I would add is that as we begin to potentially add positions or replace decisions around replacing positions, it may mean that the hours for that particular position may change. So as we go through attrition and add additional people to the institution or add new positions, there may be set hours that are identified in there that might help us reach the goal of extended hours. So there's various ways that we would accomplish this, but I think first and foremost, what we're trying to do is get a sense of how flexible individuals want to be about their schedules and what they want to accomplish, and whether that can be utilized to accomplish this goal through a voluntary process. And obviously, a new employee would respond to a posting that would have specific hours and approaches in it. So that's all part of a process that we'll be moving through as we move into this extended hour discussion. But Shannon's absolutely right. This is about working our way through it incrementally to get to the best spot.
All right. Any other questions?
Really appreciate your time today. It was great. Angela and I had her NUP evaluation for the Office of the President area, and I've started to have my NUP evaluations with my own senior staff folks and have begun to have conversations about how flex hours may work for some of them and work for for me as well, and how that will work with Angela. And so we have already started those conversations, and I encourage people to use the conversations they're already having with employees to take the time that when you're sitting with someone one-on-one, it's a great time to start having a conversation about what they might want their flex work to look like in the future. So I'm looking forward to how this will make a better employee experience for everyone. And again, we thank you for your questions. And you'll notice that Shannon has already noted in the cut chat that managers will be having an opportunity for question and answer for managers and be able to answer their questions as they work through this complicated process. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody seeing that at 7:22. Marielle and Shannon can give you the actual time for that. But appreciate all your questions today. Would continue to encourage you to have conversations and think about how this may or may not work for you. Begin to have conversations with your managers in your areas. Take advantage of this particular opportunity that's happening at Middlesex and not necessarily in other places. And we look forward to answering any other questions you may have in the future and to your plans as we work towards that August 24th deadline. Shannon, you had one more thing you want to mention?
Sorry, there was a question that just came in the chat as you were wrapping up. I don't know if we want to answer that now or later.
Sure.
Will there be any
will there
process
be a
for-
process for collection of feedback from employees and students regarding this change?
That's an interesting question. Does Eli want to say more about what they mean about that? It's when you're starting something new, it's hard to get, it's a little premature to get feedback. It will take us a while to move through the process. And what that feedback may be is having the feedback about what happens in an individual's flex schedule will be happening in a conversation between the manager and the individual, not necessarily a collective piece. We know exactly where we're headed with what we need to do to better serve adult students and what the college will need to look like in its hours for the future. So we'll be having future conversations about that for sure. But I don't think
Eli?
there's an established process at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
Eli, do you?
I think you pretty much answered my question, but just to fill it out, since it sounds like we're trying this new thing in the hopes of better serving both students and employees, I was just wondering if there would be any. Obviously, we will be discussing with our managers, talking about how it goes. That goes without saying, but just any process in a more formal manner of just checking in on how the program is going, if there's things that are working really well, aren't working so well for sort of the population at large.
Yeah, and I think that it's a great question, and I think that it's part of the discussion that we'll have with Kristen and Shannon and with our NUPs as we move into the first phase of this, Eli. And I think we have a deliberative check-in with our union partners around this that's part of the agreement. And so absolutely we'll be having more conversations about where we are and checking in with people. I just don't think we've determined a timeline for that based on where we are in terms of the flexibility of what we've determined and when this begins in terms of fall and time. It's going to begin on August 24th, when people's schedules will change. But at the same time, there'll be people that will be opting in and opting out. And so until we get a better sense of where we are, I won't be able to articulate for you what the timeline will be for the feedback process. But like so many things here, people are not particularly, I would say, shy about offering feedback. And so the feedback's going to be coming as we move our way through the process. But we will consider a more formal process, and appreciate you mentioning that.
Another question? Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, Beth, I was just going to mention one other piece is that there is a strategic leadership team that is also working on the theme of extended hours. So I know there was also mention of kind of that feedback from students. And that team is also going to be and already has some student data that we can have that information as well going forward to really assess kind of the impact of the flex work program and how are we meeting our student needs and kind of the which areas when we think of the hours of operation for the college of how do we best serve our students. So that team is also in place and has been working on and will continue to do so this upcoming year.
Great point. Thank you, Mary. Another question did come in regarding sick time. If I need to call out sick on a 10-hour day, but I only have 7.5 hours left in my sick bank, what are my options for the rest of my shift? Am I allowed to take the remaining time unpaid, or could I make up those hours later in the week?
Yeah, it may ultimately end up being unpaid if you've exhausted the sick time provisions. I'm trying to think of it. It's very dependent on some MCCC, AFSCME may have comp time available that you could supplement those hours with. So most likely, it's really getting kind of shifting to the new working schedule, knowing that when you do use your accrued sick leave, personal leave, you are using it in 10-hour increments. So just to have, looking from a sick leave standpoint, it'll be important to kind of manage those balances effectively too, to not, have to go the unpaid route, I guess, and for those emergent type situations. So it seems like some of our answers are it depends, but it really does depend on really the very particular situations and which classification of an employee you may be.
And Mary, if employees after this call spend some time looking at the FAQs and they still have questions, who should they contact?
So both myself, Marielle, even Shannon and Kristen, we've all been really in the throes of this, developing the FAQs. We received a lot of inquiries already. We're hopeful that the document is robust and thorough, but if there are any, just go ahead and ask, email us, reach out to us, because we will keep adding to that FAQ and resend it out in materials to the college. So anything you think of.
Great. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, folks, any other questions?
I don't see any hands. Chat looks quiet.
Great. Well, I want to thank Mary for presentation today. And I want to thank everyone who's answered questions, including Shannon and Kristen, and thank them again for their partnership. I want to thank all of you. The more questions you ask, the more scenarios we work our way through, although we may not be able to answer all of them, really enriches what we're doing in terms of the guidelines and the purpose and the question and answer. So we appreciate all of your time. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate your scenarios, and we appreciate all of you. And have a great rest of the summer. We look forward to seeing you sometime in August for our next critical conversation. Thank you again for participating today, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget, a copy of today's critical conversation will be available on the intranet page for Critical Conversations under the President's Office. Thank you, everyone.